having me. I did not know that was your first workshop. It was also my first merger and acquisition, so we were in good company, I guess, trying to figure that out.
That was not my first workshop, but first on merger and acquisition.
On mergers and acquisition, yeah. It was my first going into M&A, so same thing. But yeah, just a little context on Kum Go. We have about 400 stores. We're a convenience store in the Midwest. We have about 400 stores. I think a lot of the backdrop that for anything that I comment on today is really, the convenience industry is kind of going through an existential crisis. I mean, we're looking at a future where gas is no longer part of the offering. So we're looking pretty hard not only at what customers need is going to change, but then also how they access those needs from a channel perspective and from a technology perspective. So we've got a lot of the forces swirling right at once. The thing I would highlight is just how dynamic it is. So it's a continuous process for us to continue to understand how these needs and desires shift. And so, I think even when we were engaged with that work with you, we were looking at some there's different labels to this, but a lot of people go to a convenience store or gas station for fuel, obviously. And a lot of times it's like, I need a bathroom or I need a quick something to drink. It's all around this quick trip. And what we can kind of see by opening up the lens is that the types of quick trips that people take change, and the channels that they take them in also change. And so I think we've really expanded our lens to understand that, hey, if you need, a quick drink, you've got a lot of options that just aren't the convenience channel. And so for us, the convenience, the needs and the expectations of the channel, using Jim's language, I think have largely been kind of forced and defined by convenience and this simple model of gas and, smokes and cokes and speed. And so the convenience industry often emphasizes, it's a lot of that racetrack imagery, in and out, grab and go, speed, and fast is just like a dimension of it. And so in general, people do find the convenience experience pretty fast. It's just that what they want out of that fast trip shifts. So we've really picked up on some of that traditional trip motivation starting to shift to as the EV comes on, well, it's like I can charge in a lot of places, so I don't necessarily need the gas station. I can pick up a beverage anywhere. I can go through a Starbucks drive-through. So that whole definition of convenience is shift. And we think if we're going to be relevant, there's this whole new set of convenience pillars around curation and convenience that comes to you and more personalized convenience. And so we're really changing the definition. But I would say one of our biggest surprises was really just centered around how people feel when they make these quick trips. And a lot of times they need something quick and they're given junk. They're going to fast food, or they're going, just getting kind of convenience store fare. And they never feel good about that. They always feel bad. Sometimes they want it. Sometimes they want the burger or the French fries or whatever. But when they're doing that often, they just leave that experience just feeling bad. And we really kind of focus on that human element and that feeling of how can we make you feel better about your day? And that's really what's opened up a lot of emphasis on healthier options, different choices. We didn't get rid of any of the more indulgent stuff, but we play a lot more in that juxtaposition. One of the biggest, one of the best messages that tested for us is this idea of burrito and birch water that you can kind of mix and match. But getting into that psyche of this quick trip doesn't have to always be associated with bad food or limited choices, or just you have to take what you're given. That we can really understand how to make you feel better along your journey for that day. Because there's such a lot that we can do and test and play with on the assortment. I think one big thing, when we look at kind of our just brand known fors, I mean, we're really known as a gas station. So the connotations of that are, we've got fuel and we've got some drinks inside. And, something it's estimated that something like 30% of the people that come in for gas actually leave, don't ever come into the store. So it's a huge number of people that never engage with what's inside and don't even know what's inside. So I think one of the things that we had to do is figure out, how do you start to build a relationship with that person at the pump? And that's really where some of our omni-channel strategy kicked in. So we put a big effort around a program called Fuel Better, which is basically you can set everything up so that you're paying and your pump's all ready when you get there, and all you got to do is actually just like physically fill the pump, but reducing some steps, but a way to introduce them to the brand, give them in our channels, and then start to be able to build offers and talk to them about some stuff inside that they don't even know of. But we certainly, so I think that's an example that's working. I think we've certainly learned just how people move in and out of sort of the need for speed, depending on their day or their mood or just where they're at. And so some people like literally want to come in and not talk to anybody. Whereas sometimes if it's a different occasion or they have a little bit more time, they'll engage differently at the store. And so when we launched our new food program, it was really centered on made to order, and we can get out, menu items in 3 minutes, but the perception of it is that, oh, it's gonna take a lot of time because it's made to order. And so we just had a lot of people walking up and not even considering it because it just didn't look fast enough. And we really kind of missed that need state of like, I've got to run in, I've just got to grab a sandwich, I want it to be good. And so we've just had to really straddle some different offerings that we hadn't planned on initially, but we just learned that you're going to meet people at different moods, different paces throughout the day, and we've got to be ready for all of those. I would say I think the head of our BIA group is on or was on, but we have a whole team of data scientists. This is all they do, and the continual investment and training of the tools and the use of the data is just something we do. It's just part of our business. And I think some of the things, the idea about curating messages and sort of the next right message really stuck out to me, because I would say organizationally, we've got hung up on that quite a bit of like, what's our known for? And we want like one thing. And I'm like, I don't want to be Casey's. I don't want to be known for pizza, because what am I going to do when I launch burritos and I'm only known for pizza? And so we feel like we'd be under leveraging the choice and the scale that one of our strongest advantages against like a quick serve restaurant, fast food, is that you don't get stuck with just Coke products. You've got an entire cold vault to choose from, and you can have birch water or kombucha or Coke or whatever. And we want to leverage that choice and that selection. And so, we do kind of North Star around the idea of discovery and healthy choices and empowering. But we really try to keep it open in terms of like, we'll have a lot of different product messages based on the customer, and we'll have a lot of stratification. And it creates some complexity organizationally that I would say, to be honest, is new for us as a business, where we're really needing to run kind of a two-speed organization, where we've got sort of the business as usual, that the big sort of ship to move and stand up, but then we've got this constant running, changing, trial, iteration. We're really having to build a lot of capability and operational shifts around our ability to do that. And I think that's maybe where it gets really hard, honestly. It conceptually it's great to talk about, but boy, you're talking about a massive cultural change management process, an organization that's going to start to not look like the previous organization. So it's an effort for sure. I guess maybe full disclosure, I think we're pretty new at using journey mapping. It is now very central to our planning, and it's something that we've recently adopted. And so I think we can see already, like, I would say that we're still mapping a little bit within the confines of like our lot, our store, but it's changing a bunch of stuff organizationally, because instead of it sort of coming from like marketing wants to do this and sort of cascading down, you've got the whole, cross-functional teams looking at like, how do you intersect this customer and this customer's day? I think for, so once we do that, like once we look at some key targets, we test a lot, like fast and frequently. And so, we've got a segment like harried families, where it's this, it's going to sound really simple, but it is small bet language, I guess. But we have we have a really dominant customer segment of people that are just have kids in the car, and a lot of times what they're doing is they're coming in and they're the kids can go ahead and have a slice of pizza or whatever it is, but the parents not buying, and it's a little bit of that chore in and out of the car. And so we're just understanding just the journey mapping, and like helping us pull back and be really empathetic around the customer. It's caused us to put in, so we've got a test now going where we've got a dedicated family parking spot right at the front. We've got some different signage. We changed the front cooler. It used to always be sort of driven by the supplier. So Red Box owned it, or Red Bull owned it, excuse me. And instead of like letting sort of the brands and the vendors drive where we put things, we let the need drive. So that front real estate, that prime real estate now is a whole bunch of kind of family friendly, more, kid aimed kind of healthy snacks, mix of like treats and indulgence, things that playing with like ingredients, like some different call outs. And then the idea is that we'll build more kind of mobile support around that, more loyalty support around that, so that we'll keep like rewarding and extending that relationship. But it's just amazing when you just take the lens, like just really small things that like we just weren't thinking of, like, oh, a parking spot, and how much we think that can unlock in terms of the relationship with the customer. Like, start listening hard now. And so I think that most people have different sort of levels of data available, or data that they're leveraging, but there's lots of channels in terms of social listening and customer calls. And I think that the more you can do to paint the picture, to really hear what people are saying about you and paint the picture from the customer's perspective, and really build involvement around that, of like, how are customers really thinking about us, feeling, and bring in as many people in your organization to that process. Just to, it's really a lot of organizations run based on what we want to do or what our data says, and this is about empathy. I thought you summed it up really well when you talked about this is about building a relationship. And I do think that starts with some hard listening, some heavy leaning into the listening heavily.